capacity, and the nation spent $80 billion on the prison system in the year 2010, all of which may explain the unusual bipartisan support for ending mandatory minimum sentences that ranges from Tea Party Republican Rand Paul.
Some argue with evidence that our drug laws are biased, that they are the new Jim Crow.
To the ACLU, which hailed Holder's announcement as a crucial effort to end wasteful and harmful federal prison overcrowding. There's also support in the U.S. Senate for further changes, which would give judges more discretion in sentencing. Among the senators who support revising the laws, Tea Party favorites Rand Paul and Mike Lee, who are joining with some of the president's Democratic allies. A bipartisan coalition like that could possibly get something done. Jessica Yellen, CNN, Washington.
One of America's most notorious mob bosses finally goes down. James Walter Porter led Boston's Irish mob for 20 years. He was also an FBI informant turned fugitive and spent 16 years on the run. But on Monday, a federal jury convicted Walter on 31 counts, holding him responsible for 11 murders. 83 years of age, he now faces a maximum life in prison plus 30 years. We have details of that story in this report.
Face with his one-time crime partner.
He wasn't the same guy I knew. I mean, he was a lot older, but he had no life in his eyes. He was subdued. He had changed. He just kind of lost the spark.
Weeks turned against his former boss after learning Bulger, who ran a murderous criminal enterprise for 20 years, had spent much of that time as a government informant, the kind of man Bulger always referred to as a rat. During the trial, Weeks and Bulger cursed each other after a defense question about Weeks' role and his regrets.
Basically what he asked me was, he says, you have no regrets in life. Nothing bothers you. I says, you know what bothered me? I says, we killed 5 people. He says, and that bothered you? I says, no, what bothered me is we killed people for being rats, and I had the 2 biggest rats right next to me.
Defense lawyers argued Bulger never provided any useful information to the government. And though Bulger's lawyers argued crime partner Steve Flemmi killed 2 women, Weeks testified he had seen Jim Bulger murder Deborah Hussey with his own eyes.
And I walked out, and there was Jimmy strangling her. She had walked in the house with Stevie, and Jimmy jumped out and started strangling her. And he killed her, and then she was brought downstairs and, ultimately buried.
Do you ever think of the look on Debbie Hussey's face?
No.
Do you remember the look?
Not really.
Do you remember Bulger and how he reacted after?
He laid down, went to sleep.
Why?
He always did. He was nice and relaxed.
In December 1994, Bulger fled South Boston after a corrupt FBI agent tipped him off the feds were closing in. After a worldwide manhunt, Bulger was finally arrested in Santa Monica, California in 2011. Whitey Bulger stood up and said he didn't get a fair trial. It was a sham. He had been given immunity by a corrupt prosecutor. What do you think of that?
I'll equate it to this. He got a fairer trial than the people we killed.
Do you think Jim Bulger ever lies awake at night thinking about the people he allegedly killed or he killed?
I think he lies awake at night thinking of the people he should have killed and didn't kill.
If Jim Bulger were sitting across from you right now,
right,
what would you want to say to him? What
Nothing.
would you tell him?
I'd have to shoot him because he'd be trying to shoot me if he was sitting there right now.
Deborah Thayerick, CNN, Boston.
Well, talk about a holiday you will never forget. Guests at the Somber Bee Resort in Central Florida had to flee earlier this week when the ground literally opened up and swallowed part of the complex, and the result was a massive fall. Fortunately, everyone inside at the time managed to get out safely. Such things are not uncommon, particularly in Florida. CNN's Matthew Savage has more.
See right behind us here. It is pretty phenomenal when you look at the destruction of that condominium that was filled with vacationers at the time. And now to realize that everybody made it out of there, not only alive, but unscathed. It's quite remarkable. Take a look at this. In a vacation destination known for make-believe, it was all too real. A sinkhole 100 feet across opens up under an Orlando area resort condominium, giving panicked guests just minutes to get out.
When I saw it, it's crazy. Like, how does that happen, you know?
Late Sunday night in Building 104 at the Summer Bay Resort, guests began hearing strange popping and cracking. Then the earth began to move.
Man, we was walking around and the buildings collapsed in, sinkhole on the bottom of it, and then the whole buildings collapsed in both ways.
More than 100 people, including children, were inside, but amazingly, everyone made it out safely. Some credit a quick-thinking security guard.
One of the security guards ran up and was evacuating people, barging into their rooms. One woman was sitting in the tub, and the tub just levitated.
You pulled the phone out. Ben Warwick from Des Moines had just started his vacation and was staying next door. He managed to capture the building collapse on his cell phone, rolling at just the right moment.
I turned to film the guys talking to the fire department, and all of a sudden I heard a crack, and I quickly switched over, and the roof came down.
Officials say the sinkhole appears to have stabilized, but that's no help for the guests who fled in the darkness. How do people retrieve those items they left behind?
Those items that may be in 104, to be very bluntly realistic, may never be retrieved.
As a precaution, 2 other buildings were also evacuated, leaving resort officials scrambling to find rooms for displaced guests at the height of the summer season.
Yeah, we just got here, and, you know, I don't want the kids to see us, you know, with a sad face. They came to see Mickey, you know, and I want to do my best to make it happen for them.
The security guard is now being identified. He's the hero in all of this, Richard Shanley. He'd only been on the job as a security guard here 2 months, and he'd only been working that night for about 5 minutes when all of this began breaking apart. Christy?
It is amazing. Everyone...
Time now to take our second break. When we come back, sports is next. Stay tuned.
Carrément jàmm nga fanaan jàmm rek awa jàmm nga fanaan jàmm rek kay kon nag jàmm ngeen fanaan breakfast soo moo ne indi lekk yi gën ci lekk waaye nag amul ci lekk wér gu yaram xam-xam la flavors ak yeneen yu bari yoo leen a mën a jàng ci programme bi loo xam ne rek war ngeen koo xam ci seen suba te xam ngeen ne wér gu yaram mooy jëmale réew kanam ahankay kon nag toppale leen ci jàmm ngeen fanaan samedi ak dimanche fukki waxtu ci suba Isama.
Well, time now to join our sports lady, Fatou Jasseh, for a news in sports. Fatou?
Thank you, Mane. The World Athletic Championship in Moscow's Luzhniki Stadium has seen some very dramatic performance, not least the ones witnessed on the track. 3 were exciting finishes in the 400 and 100-meter races. We have details in this report.
Later, but they'll struggle to match this exciting finish in the women's 400 metres final on Monday night. Defending world champion Amanto Moncho from Botswana heading for gold until a late surge from Britain's Christina Huragu. They crossed the line together, given the same time of 49.41 seconds. That meant Huragu had broken Kathy Cook's 29-year-old British record. And after judges looked at this photo finish, they also handed victory to the 2007 world champion and 2008 Olympic gold medalist. In the women's 100 metres, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price ensured a golden double for Jamaica. In that sprint distance, she matched Usain Bolt's achievement by storming to victory ahead of Muriel Ahore of the Ivory Coast and America's Carmelita Jetta, the winning time of 10.71 seconds, the fastest in the world this year. Cricket's facing another embarrassing round of...
Fatou?
Yeah, that's all in sports. Back to you, Setumani.
Thank you very much. And before we end this edition of the news, a reminder of the press release from the Office of the President. After giving advice and warning to operators in foreign exchange market, government